Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada की
जय
जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की
जय
जय। रामाचार्य ब्रह्मचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की
जय
जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय।
जय
श्री वृंदावन धाम की
जय
जय। मथुरा धाम की जय।
जय
नवद्वीप धाम की
जय
जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय।
जय
गंगा मई की जय। जमुना मई की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। समवेत भक्तवृंद की
जय
जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे
हरि
हरे हरे।
हरि बोल।
All glories to the assembled devotees.
हरे कृष्णा
All glories to the assembled
हरे
devotees.
कृष्णा
All glories to the assembled devotees.
हरे कृष्णा
All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga.
हरे हरि बोल।
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Swami Namaste Krishna Miraya Prabhupada Siddhartha Niti Gaura Kavya Shakti. Narayana Namaskritya Narom Chevam Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Gujirayat Nashta Prayesva Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamastoke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
ओम नमो
Om
भगवते
Bhagavate
वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो
Om
भगवते
Bhagavate
वासुदेवाय।
Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो
Om
भगवते
Bhagavate
वासुदेवाय।
Vasudevaya. Right. Good morning, everybody. Please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to the seed of Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 15, Text 49. Okay. Hare Krishna. Move back to it. Okay. Kamam Bhava Swavidinai Nirare Sunastat Jetu Livadya Dinute Padayo Rameta Vashashchana Tulasi Vadyati Tengri Shobha Puriye Tate Gunantana Yakana Yadika Narandra Kamam Bhava Swadvintinai Raye Sunastach Chetu Levadyadi Dune Dune Chetu Levadyadi Dune Padayo Rameta Vachashchana Tulasi Vadyati Tengri Shobha Puri Tate Gunagana Yadika Narandra Kamam Vava Swabhijane Nirayeshu Nastach Chetu Levadyadnute Padayo Rameta Vachashchanastu Lasivadyaditengri Shobha Puriyeta Te Gunagana Yadika Narandra. Hare Krishna. Please chant. Hare
कृष्ण
Hare Krishna.
आमां बहवासाभिजनैर्निराशयु निरायेषु नाम्ताश्चेतो लिभद् यदिनु ते पदायो रमेता भाचाश्चनस्तुलसीभाद् यदि ते अङ्घ्रिशोभाया पुरायेता पुरायेता ते गुणा गुणैर्यदि कर्णरन्ध्र। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Please stand.
Kamam bhavasvabhrijaneir nirayeshu nastat cheto livad yadinute padayorameta vachaschanastulasivad yadite nigre nigrisopha purayeta te gunaganair yadi karmarandhara. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
भवस्वभिजनैर्निरयेषु न सत् चेतो लिवाद्यधिनुते पदयोरमेता वाचश्च नस्तुलसिवद्यदितेङ्घ्रिशोभा पूर्येत ते गुणगणैर्यदि कर्णरन्ध्रा.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Kamam bhava swavrijineer niryeshu nachstaj cheto hali vadyati no te vadayorameta vachascha nastulasi vadyati te angari shobha puryet te gunagane hare yadi karna randhra. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Any more? Okay. So we'll have to do, we do it forward now. Sorry. Come on, as much as deserved. Bhava, birth. Swavijine, by our sinful activities. Nirayeshu, in low births. Na, our. Start, let it be. Cheta, minds. Alivad, like bees. Jadi, if. Nu, maybe. Te, your. Padayo, at your lotus feet. Rameta, are engaged. Vacha, the words. Cha, end. Na, hour. Tulsivat, like the tulsi leaves. Jadi, if. Te, your. Angry, at your lotus feet. Shobha, beautified. Purita, are filled. Te, your. Gunaganai, by transcendental qualities. Jadi, if. Karnarandra, the host of the years. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Lord, we pray that you let us be born in any hellish condition of life, just as long as our hearts and minds are always engaged in the service of your lotus feet. Our words are made beautiful by speaking of your activities, just as tulsi leaves are beautified when offered unto your lotus feet. And as long as our ears are always filled with the chanting of your transcendental qualities. Report by Srila Prabhupada. The four sages now offer their humility to the personality of Godhead because of their having been haughty in cursing two other devotees of the Lord. Jai and Vijay, the two doorkeepers, who checked them from entering the Vaikuntha planet, were certainly offenders. But as Vaishnavas, the four sages should not have cursed them in anger. After the incident, they became conscious that they had done wrong by cursing the devotees of the Lord. And they prayed to the Lord that even in the hellish condition of life, their minds might not be affected from the engagement of service to the lotus feet of Lord Narayan. Those who are devotees of the Lord are not afraid of any condition of life, provided there is constant engagement in the service of the Lord. It is said of the Narayan Para, or those who are devotees of Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Na Kutaschana Hivyati, Pavatam 6:17 28. They are not afraid of entering a hellish condition. For since they are engaged in a transcendental loving service of the Lord, heaven or hell is the same for them. In material life, both heaven and hell are one and the same because they are material. In either place, there is no engagement in the Lord's service. Therefore, those who are engaged in the service of the Lord see no distinction between heaven and hell. It is only the materialists who prefer one to the other. These four devotees prayed to the Lord that although they might go to hell because they had cursed devotees, they might not forget the service of the Lord. The transcendental loving service of the Lord is performed in three ways: with the body, with the mind, and with words. Here, the sages pray that their words may always be engaged in glorifying the Supreme Lord. One may speak very nicely with ornamental language, or one may be expert at controlled grammatical presentation. But if one's words are not engaged in the service of the Lord, they have no flavor and no actual use. The example is given here of tulsi leaf. The tulsi leaf is very useful, even from the medicinal and antiseptic point of view. It is considered sacred and is offered to the lotus feet of the Lord. The tulsi leaf has numerous good qualities, but if it were not offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, tulsi could not be of much value or importance. Similarly, one may speak very nicely from the rhetorical or grammatical point of view, which may be very much appreciated by a materialistic audience. But if one's words are not offered to the service of the Lord, they are useless. The holes of the ears are very small and can be filled with any insignificant sound. So how can they receive as great a vibration as the glorification of the Lord? The answer is that the holes of the ears are like the sky. As the sky can never be filled up, the quality of the ear is such that one may go on pouring in vibrations of various kinds, yet it is capable of receiving more and more vibrations. A devotee is not afraid of going to hell if he has the opportunity to hear the glories of the Lord constantly. This is the advantage of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One may be put in any condition, but God gives him the prerogative to chant Hare Krishna. In any condition of life, if one goes on chanting, he will never be unhappy. Oma Ginati Mirandasya, Gyana Gana Shalakaya, Chakshu Umbilitam Dina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manu Vistam Stapitam Dina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadabhayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Scha. Shri Rupa Sagajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam. Sa Advaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam. Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishaka Vitam Scha. He Krishna Kruna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Paramami Hari Priye. Vanchakapadrupescha Kipasmini Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Sunyabari Paschantyari Chatarine. Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gurate Se Namaha. Ananda Vidamaya Vigrahaya Himaviri Pacha Vishindaraya Tasmi Mahaprema Ras Padaya Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Translation again. O Lord, we pray that you let us be born in any hellish condition of life, just as long as our hearts and minds are always engaged in the service of your lotus feet. Our words are made beautiful by speaking of your activities, just as tulsi leaves are beautified when offered unto your lotus feet. And as long as our ears are filled with the chanting of your transcendental qualities. Hare Krishna. What a powerful prayer. This is wonderful, and we can learn a whole lot from what the four Kumaras talked about. Mm. So the situation, if you could just go a little bit into the slight history of it. So the four Kumaras were impersonalists at first. They were born from Lord Brahma. They had the ability to roam the whole creation practically. Mm. All of the material creation. And they could also go to the spiritual planets. So they were traveling. They definitely did not want to be householders. So they decided that they would stay young looking, like 5-year-olds. Mm. So in that way, then the question of marriage never comes up. Mm. Lord Brahma wasn't crazy about that, but that's what they decided to do. So they were roaming around, and wherever they went, they were definitely giving and they were also learning, as in this case, when they came to Vaikuntha, they learned. The whole situation starts from Lord Narayan himself wanting to sport in the material world, get into some fighting. And the Lord's devotees are always willing to assist in whatever he wants to do. They give their hearts to the Lord in service. So when that became clear to them that this is what the Lord wanted to do, then they also made it a point to make that happen. In other words, they were going to facilitate that. That is the story of Jai and Vijay, the gatekeepers. In that particular Vaikuntha planet, she had 7 gates. When the four Kumaras arrived there, they were, they easily got through the first 6 gates. Now they are Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatan, and Sanat Kumara. Those are the names of the 4 Kumaras. When they got to the 7th, the very last gate, after which they would be inside the Vaikuntha planet, then these 2 gatekeepers stopped them and got angry at them and told them that they couldn't go in. They would not be allowed in. Now, they were the gatekeepers, and they said no. And so the 4 Kumaras were surprised. They said, this is a spiritual world. Everything is supposed to be good here. So why are these people denying us a simple thing like coming inside the into the spiritual world, especially having gone through 6 gates without any problem? The gates also have gatekeepers, but they had no problem with the 4 Kumaras. So why are these 2 doing that? This is an activity that's done in the material world, this anger thing. So if you're showing that kind of anger, then maybe that's where you belong. So you should go to the material world. And that's how Jai and Vijay got cursed by the 4 Kumaras. But the Lord heard about it and the Lord showed up. Now, so many things got transformed immediately in the minds of the 4 Kumaras. When the Lord showed up, when just how he looked, his looks, his voice, the aroma from him, his dress, they were all very enchanting. And so Sanaka, Sanatan, Sananda, and Sanat Kumara, the 4 Kumaras, had a change of mindset and a change of heart just by seeing Lord Narayan. Then Lord Narayan spoke. As a matter of fact, they couldn't really understand what Lord Narayan was saying, but they were very charmed by his presence. And so Well, Jai and Vijay had been cursed to go to the material world. Lord Narayan, took responsibility for the mistake of his two gatekeepers. And he said that they have to go, but he hopes that they get back early. And they themselves wanted to get back early. And so they were going to go to the material world for 3 lifetimes. And interestingly enough, all 3 lifetimes, each one happened in one yuga of the Divya Yuga. The first life, they came in Satya Yuga. The next life, they came in Treta Yuga. The next life, they came in Dwapara Yuga. And then they asked to come in Kali Yuga. So they came actually 4 times. Jagai and Madai. That's the last one. That's not from the situation. That's from the request of Jai and Vijay themselves to come and be in the Gora Lila of the Lord Chaitanya. Anyway, so there is regret on the part of the 4 Kumaras. The gatekeepers, Jai and Vijay, had already done wrong. And yes, they understood that. But now the 4 Kumaras are also thinking they've done wrong by cursing the gatekeepers. So that's the first lesson we learned. 2 wrongs don't make a right. When one person is done wrong by being angry, you fire back at them another way. In the material world, it's called tit for tat. In the spiritual world, not allowed at all. That's not what we should be doing. This is where humility becomes important. So in that case, in this case, the 4 Kumaras did not show humility. They realized that. And so they said, we know that we're going to be punished for this. So now they're thinking about, all right, if we go into a hellish planet, the one thing that we want to remember is always thinking of him, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord also says it. Man mana bhava mad bhakto, mad yajimam namaskuru. 4 things. Your Papa stressed it. At one time I saw a video, and in answer to a question, your Papa opened his eyes wide. You have not been reading Bhagavad Gita? Immediately went after his disciples. Krishna says, Man mana bhava mad bhakto, mad yajimam namaskuru. These 4 things. Always think of me, which is exactly what the 4 Kumaras wanted to do, wherever they were. Always think of me. Become my devotee. You have to worship me. And you also offer obeisances to me. Now, actually, it is to our advantage to do that. When we think about the Lord, and the Lord also says, without a doubt, we're going back to the spiritual world. If we become a devotee of the Lord, then we are living in the life of Bhakti Yoga, which is exactly what all the pure devotees in the spiritual world do. Bhakti Yoga. It says, worship me. But who better to worship? He has given us the mercy in Kali Yuga by coming in the deity form. The actual predominant mode of worship of deity is in Dwapara Yuga. But it's been extended by the mercy of the Lord into Kali Yuga. The main way of connecting with the Lord is through the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. And Lord Chaitanya made that clear. But we also have deity worship. Worship me. And offer obeisances to me. The Lord says that when we offer obeisance to him, he is pleased. When we offer obeisances to this representative, a spiritual master, he's even more pleased. And when we offer obeisances to each other, our relationship becomes very, very, very much improved. We care for each other more. So Srila Prabhupada quoted this. And right after that, he also said, Sarvadharman parityaja, mamekam sharanam vaja, aham tvam sarvapapi. We open his eyes wide. Aham tvam sarvapapi. Moksha yishyami master. Hmm? Abandon all these varieties of religion and surrender unto me. So, abandoning the varieties of religion, even though the religions say God, but one thing many of these religions, even though we're called bona fide, don't know is who is God. Srila Prabhupada in one lecture, he made a comment that was quite interesting. He says, on the American dollar, it says, in God we trust. In God we trust. But who is God? Do they know him? So it becomes quite interesting. How can you trust somebody you don't know? Hmm? Hmm. In God we trust. Well, maybe they'll know him by his creation because they believe in his creation, but they really don't know him. In other words, if you had a situation of so many pictures, I was thinking about it the other day, and there's a picture of Krishna in one of those pictures in the lineup, and you tell a non-devotee, the Supreme Personality of God has pictures here. Pick it, identify it. You know they won't be able to do it. But if you even give it to a devotee, young boy or girl, and you line the same pictures with Krishna in there, and you say, the Lord is there, his picture is a pick one, you know he'll pick it, he or she will pick it correctly. They can identify the Lord easily. Do we take that for granted? But this is something that even non-devotees don't know. God, 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 but they don't know who God is. Hmm? And it gets worse, but I won't spend too much time on the religious side because Krishna says, abandon these varieties of religion because at best it would take you to the heavenly plans. And we already know from this discussion today that heaven is not the end of the story. So the four Kumars are saying, all right, we pray. This is their prayer. Even if we're born in the hellish condition of life, as long as our minds and hearts are engaged, always engaged in the service of your lotus feet. This is something Srila Prabhupada wants us so much to be about because Krishna wants us to be about that. And that way we can go home. So as long as our words are made beautiful, this is still the Pokumars talking. Just like tulsi leaves are beautified when they're offered onto your lotus feet, they're not talking to Lord Narayan. And as long as our ears are always filled with the chanting of the transcendental qualities, which is exactly what Lord Chaitanya came to do. Every day in Navadvip, and when he was in Jagannath Puri also, they were chanting the holy names of the Lord. The enthusiasm, when you read, Guru Lila, Chaitanya Bhagavad or Chaitanya Charitamrita, one thing was very clear. The people were always asking, where's Lord Chaitanya? And wherever he went, they followed. Or if he got to a particular town and the news got out that he had come and he's in one of the devotees' houses, tens of thousands would come to see him. First of all, he's very attractive, tall and very attractive. So just to see him, the beauty alone is very intoxicating. His words are intoxicating. He's a supreme Lord, and he tells you what? Chant the holy name. So the devotees will always chant Hari, Hari. You can imagine thousands of them and all screaming the holy name of the Lord. How much of a tumultuous sound, in a positive way, that is, because the demons make tumultuous sounds that are horrible too. How just tumultuous the sound would be. And so in our own day-to-day activities, we should always be chanting the holy names of the Lord. This is how it's the easiest way to remember the Lord. It's through chanting. In the purpose, the Prabhupada says, the four sages now, they offer their humility to the personality of Godhead because they have been too hasty to to curse the two devotees of the Lord Jai and Vijay. Yes, they were checked. The two doorkeepers checked the four Kumaras from entering the Vakuntha planet. True enough, and that was an offense. It wasn't a good thing to do. But the four sages should not have retorted in anger. Anger at the time, when somebody is very angry, they do things that they regret later on. And this is exactly what happened here. Now, the four stages are accessing humility. Humility is also very important in our lives. As a matter of fact, we can't be successful in the body life without humility. Because when humility is down, then pride is up. And pride is what makes us think that we are at the level of the Lord. Pride is what makes us think that everything that we did was from us, rather than, as Sri Krishna describes it in Bhagavad Gita, it's not from us. It's from his three modes of material nature. Everything that we do is in one of those modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. That is our material activities. But we want to take credit that we did this, we did that, not even realizing that the mind and intelligence that we use to do those things were not our own. They were supplied by the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his agents, to Lord Brahma. They still want to take credit. So humility is extremely important in our lives. We should humble ourselves before Guru. We should humble ourselves even mentally before senior devotees. Why? Because through their experience and the advice from their experience, we gain more knowledge. And therefore, from the knowledge, we're talking about spiritual knowledge, we get closer and closer and closer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even while we're here. We're here in this hellish place. So, Srila Prabhupada said, wherever devotees are, if we are in the material world, we are in a hellish condition. Many, many religionists are looking forward to going to the heavenly planets. But we have to understand that in this 14 planetary systems, the higher planets are Brahmaloka and Satyaloka, Brahmaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, they're all there, Swagaloka. Thereafter is Bhuvaloka and Bhuloka, the medium planets. Those ones that are below us are where the demons live. I think someone has to mute their microphone. So the demons live there. So what happens? Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Tala, all of those, up to Patala, they attack the demigods in the heavenly planets. As a matter of fact, there's one particular king called Muchukunda. And Muchukunda was summoned by the demigods to help them fight against the demons. Muchukunda spent a lot of time in the heavenly planets fighting those wars. So that alone is an indication that the demons don't leave the demigods or those in the other planets below us. They don't leave those in the heavenly planets alone. So it's not a place of total peace. It's just that they have more access to material things. They have more abilities. This is those in the heavenly planets. So they can do more material things. But they also die, just like we die. And my Guru Maharaj explained, those in the heavenly planets, they are so much in touch with material sense gratification that they can't take bhakti seriously. So at best, their bhakti is mixed. But here, we don't have as much available. And it's also the reason why devotees don't usually have that much in terms of wealth. Because wealth can be intoxicating. We have to have enough to live a decent life. But to be over the top of so much money can, in fact, push us towards thinking more of the material than the spiritual. And if we think about material and the spiritual, we just stay in the material world. If we think of material more than the spiritual, that's what's going to happen. another body, and another body, and another body. Mm? So for the most part, the bodies don't have much. They just have enough to live on. Mm? That is the reason. Now, are they missing out? Are we missing out? The people around us that are very wealthy and we're not part of them? What wealth? How long does their wealth last? How long does it last? Hmm? As long as they are in a physical body, the wealth may be there, but are they going to be in the physical body forever? Yeah, he's some sponsor job, oh God, look at you now. You know, it's there, everything. Adianta vanta kontia nati shura matebuta. This is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, text 22. So the intelligent person does not like to be around things or connect to things that are temporary. So it feels nice, but after a while it's gone. Hmm? They want permanent, long lasting, and the best. The best form of enjoyment and a long lasting, that is the life in the spiritual world. So then they head towards spiritual world. That is the best thing. The wise person, the intelligent person, is not going to connect with things that are temporary. So we shouldn't worry too much if we don't have much wealth. Now, if we do have wealth, then we should use it according to the way Rupa Goswami described it. Use half of it in Krishna conscious projects. Mayapur, for one, is going to be developed and developed. And if you read the Leader of Srila Prabhupada, when they talk about Mayapur and the plans for it, it's not going to be completed anytime soon. Because that's the mercy of Lord Guranga himself. The more things get done, the more ideas come to develop the place even more. I remember, like it was yesterday, 20 years ago. It doesn't look like that long. 2005, I was in a meeting in Dallas. It's called the SSPT meeting, Spiritual Strategic Planning Team. They had all presidents, vice presidents, or representatives of different DOMs, and they all met with the GBC. The main person running this meeting was Rupa Swami, and he got his god brother, who is a businessman and a good planner, Gopal Bhatta Prabhu, and they put this together. To the meeting, we went, at the time, the temple president, Girinagri, couldn't go, so I went representing Girinagri. I was just the secretary of the board, and I represented. I went. And there was the description of Mayapur. How much was it going to cost? $8 million. If you know how much has been spent now, you know the point that we're making. The whole model have been displayed, and it was continued also. The next meeting was in New Vrindavan. I was there. Swami again described, because they asked for an update for what's going on. In 2005, 2006, that one, the other meeting, the following meeting, but it's the same thing. So they were discussing, everything has been planned and how much is it going to cost. So fundraising was going on. There were even some sannyasis there, gurus. We went back and forth. Jayadvaita Swami, Hridayananda Maharaj, he was there. Jayapataka Swami, he hadn't gone into this difficulty with his health. He was there. And there was this debate back and forth. Someone was saying, why should you spend $8 million on this when we need education, more schools and out there? And they answered that question. I don't go too far away from it. But the point is, they planned it. Now, why are we bringing this up? Now, the $8 million has been long spent and more ideas have come as to how to expand the whole campus. And so definitely we can contribute there. And of course, your own temple too. So if you have wealth, you can do that. If you're aspiring for wealth, remember, wealth can keep us in the material world. So if you're aspiring to to do something for wealth, then you should always have the plan of how to use it in Krishna service. Otherwise, there's no point being wealthy and dying and leaving it and making a will and somebody else spending what you work hard for. There's no point in doing that. Hmm? You need to have some money set aside. Rupa Goswami says 25% for your family. Yes, that should be there. 25% for your own emergency situation. Then half of it you should spend on projects. So that's the wealth part. Anyway, so we've gone so far off course. Here we go. So humility, these 4 stages, we have to remember that is the first one in Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, text 8 through 12. What Krishna describes as knowledge, humility is the first. So we have to be very, 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 very careful in our own life to live it such that Trinadapi Sunitena Taroribasa Amanina Manadina. We should be humble and tolerant. Humble like a blade of grass and tolerant like a tree. Lord Chaitanya asks us to be that way. We should be respecting others, but we shouldn't be expecting respect from others. Others may respect us, but we shouldn't be expecting, because that's Maya that plays with our mind. Oh, this person should have respected me and they didn't do it. This is what we're talking about. We shouldn't think that way. And if we think in that kind of humble way, then the name of the Lord, Hare Krishna mantra, will just come off our lips very, very easily. That's what the Lord says. He is the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna, come as a devotee and telling us we should do like that. So after the incident of them cursing, the 4 sages cursing Jai and Vijay, they obviously regret it. And therefore they were saying, okay, we are also going to be punished for cursing these 4 Kumaras. But please let us remember you no matter what we go through. This should be the situation. See, we are in a situation of being in the material world already. Those who are not in the material, in the higher situation, when they get cursed to come down to the lower planets, they consider that a curse. But we are already in the lower planets. Because the heavenly planets are there, and we're not there. So we're in a lower planet, lower system, based on how the universe is put together. But we're also fortunate that at this time, lifetime has been shortened. Kali Yuga means 100 years maximum. But this is a special Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, that the influence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a devotee, Lord Chaitanya, is here. It's only one of 1,000 Kali Yugas that we hear about Lord Chaitanya. One of them, 999 Kali Yugas in the day of Lord Brahma, Lord Chaitanya is not here. So this is a very, very important time. Sometimes people ask, okay, well, in that Kali Yuga, then if Lord Chaitanya is not here in the other 999, so who comes? Well, his name is Gaura Narayan. It's still the Lord, but he's not giving mercy by the holy name, just like Lord Chaitanya is doing. So this is a time to take very seriously. So one thing, we need to be connected with humility, very much so, in our lives. And we need to chant the holy name very, 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 very seriously. Like our whole life depends on it, because the fact is, it does depend on it. Nothing else is more important. In material life, we're going to go through some changes based on our karma. When we come to devotee life, karma is put behind, but still we face some challenges. Material challenges are always there. That is Krishna's way of reminding us that we're not home and we shouldn't be comfortable with this place. So whatever situation that we face, that is called a reversal. It's not reversal means a difficult situation. It always should be looked at in terms of what we learn from it and the reminder that this is not home. This is not home. Nobody suffers like that in the spiritual world. Everybody is in the highest happiness they can ever be. That's why we use the word bliss. We could have, Krishna, in the Shastra, the word happy could have been used, but the soul is in bliss. Bliss is just higher than regular happiness. It's the highest happiness one can have. That is our situation, and that's what we're preparing for. Mm-hmm. So, one of the things that are very important, and in the Gora Lila, it's so clear, the way the Lord's devotees relate to Lord Chaitanya. And that is the way the Prabhupada ended this purport. Just the way the Lord Chaitanya's associates, relate to him, and they live life. Those who are engaged in the service of the Lord see no distinction between heaven and hell. It is only the materialists who prefer one to the other, only the materialists that prefer heaven to hell, the hellish, heavenly planet to a hellish planet. Hmm? Heavenly planets are not places of peace. I mentioned earlier, by the grace of my Guru and Guru Anga, that there was a king called Muchukunda that was summoned to fight the demons in the heavenly planets. There's a whole story behind that. That Muchukunda fought very well. And then finally, he was
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna devotees, something happened. He just got dropped off. So he's going to log back in. So just let us give him a minute and he should be back. Meantime, we can keep chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Ram
Rama,
Ram,
Rama Rama.
Hare Hare. Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare Hare.
Ram Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare.
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram
Ram
Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare, Hare Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Hare.
Ram, Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Hare
Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram
Ram
Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Ram,
Ram
Ram Hare
Ram Ram Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Hare, Hare
Hare,
Ram, Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram
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 Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Ram,
Ram
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 Hare
Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram, Hare Ram.
Ram Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram,
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Krishna,
Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare
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 Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Ram Ram, Hare
Ram,
Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Ram, Hare
Krishna Krishna,
Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, 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 Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare, Hare
Ram,
Ram, Hare
Ram,
Ram, Ram
Ram,
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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Ram,
Ram, Ram
Ram,
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 Hare
Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Ram, Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, 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 Hare.
We cannot hear you. Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Now I think we can. We can hear you, Prabhu.
Okay, great.
So all this time you were saying everything,
Yeah,
Prabhu,
yeah.
we missed.
You missed a lot.
Yeah, we missed a lot.
Well, I'm recording it, so basically I can edit it and then send it to you. If you give me a way to send it, I can do that.
Okay.
All right. So I don't even know where we were at. I was talking about the fact, well, coming back to the purport that Srila Prabhupada described that the four Kumaras were regretful of what they had done. So they were accessing humility practically in kind of dealing with their situation. The sages were offering their humility to the personality of Godhead because they had been wrong in cursing Jai and Bijai. So we talked about, well, at the time we were going, I was just
We're talking
talking
about
of,
Michkunda, I think. No?
yeah, Muchikunda. If you heard the Muchikunda part, then I can continue from there. Good. I mentioned Muchikunda simply because those in the heavenly planet, those people who want to go to the heavenly planets and thinking that they're going to have an easy time there, that the demons who are in the lower part of the universe, or those the ones that end with the suffix tala, atala, vitala, sutala, those they do attack those in the heavenly planets. And so Muchukunda was summoned by Indra to come help to fight the wars against the demons in the heavenly planets. So that tells you that there's no total peace in the heavenly planets. There's just a lot that's available for sense gratification, higher, way higher than those of us in the medium planets, the earthly planets. But it's not a place where you're going to have total peace. That doesn't occur anywhere in the material world. That's why the Lord wants us to go home. And of course, in this particular yuga, we chant the holy name of the Lord. It's an easy way to go, but we have to chant with attention. It's also said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in the purport by Srila Prabhupada in the Adlila that for those of us that are still worried about the quality of our chanting, he made it very clear that the Lord's mercy is always there, even when it comes to chanting. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivachari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. That Panchatattva mantra is the way in which the Lord is mercifully accepting the quality of our chanting. Otherwise, we will be actually chanting in the offensive mode. There are three modes: offensive mode, then namabhas, indistinct chanting of the Lord. But even though here in the material world we're so distracted, so many things are happening, it's getting worse. Once we chant the Panchatattva mantra at the beginning, some people even like to chant it 3 times. It's not required by Srila Prabhupada to do that, but at least once in the beginning. Then it helps to purify our chanting. So the Lord is doing all kinds of things to help us to come back home. Srila Prabhupada will end with this. One of the points that Srila Prabhupada mentioned about Krishna being in anxiety, and he used the word anxiety. I was surprised. Krishna is supposed to be Atmaram, right? Self-satisfied. But he's in anxiety about only one thing. We, those of us conditioned souls. And his anxiety is he wants us to go back home. He knows that we're trying to do what we can to enjoy life here in the material world. And he knows it's not going to work. But he knows that we want to enjoy life because the soul is like that. The soul, this is the nature of the soul, Satchidananda, eternal, full of knowledge, and likes to enjoy. But the best place to enjoy is with him, is with the Lord himself and his pure associates. So he's in anxiety for us to go back. Why anxiety? Because of his love for us. We know that as parents, we love our children. As soon as we hear something about a child, any child being in danger, we immediately get very concerned. So we are in danger, all of us in the material world. There's a very small percentage of us are in the material world, even though billions and trillions looks like that. Very small compared to those who are in the spiritual world. So the Lord is concerned. And that's what Srila Prabhupada explains. He sends, first, he guides us as super soul in the heart of every living entity. Every living entity. That shows how much concern the Lord has for us. Second, he sends the spiritual master, his representative, to be in touch with us directly and guide us. And third, he comes himself as Lord Chaitanya. At this time, periodically he comes, and this is the period that he has come as a devotee to show us. He was here in the end of Dwapara Yuga to tell us what to do, and that was in Bhagavad Gita, to come to him. And then he came in Kali Yuga about 530 years ago to show us what it is like to be a devotee. So these are all signs of a very loving Lord that wants his parts and parcels, his sons and daughters, to go back home to get the very enjoyment they're trying to get in the wrong place. So that's our situation. And now that we understand it that way, not many people in the world understand it that way. Not many people are looking at Krishna. So we got to take this process seriously and count ourselves extremely lucky and try to get more people to turn to Krishna also, because that's what he wants. If he's anxious for us to go home, then anyone that we help in order to get back home by coming to Krishna consciousness, Krishna is very, very, very happy with us. So we have our work cut out for us, but we also have a very, very, very fortunate situation that we're in, being Krishna conscious. So it's a question of taking it very seriously. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. And sorry for the interruption. Technology. Hare Krishna. What to do? So this is the time to unmute yourself, dear devotees. If you have any comments or questions. Hare Krishna. So any comments or questions?
Please, devotees, if you have any realizations you'd like to add, please unmute yourself and go ahead. I see Narasimha Prahaladeshwara Prabhu also unmuted himself. Dr. David, please.
Anyone? Just comments.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept
Hare
my
Krishna.
humble obeisance. All glories.
Mind, glory to the Prabhupada.
I just, again, thank you for the class, wonderful class. Again, reflecting on humility. Being a middle school teacher, I am always trying to be in that position. And every once in a while, I feel myself like if someone is disrespectful, and I don't react correctly, I'm like, oh, Krishna, you got me there. You know, whenever I think I'm doing a good job, he always finds a way to be like, you still need to work on that. So, Hare Krishna. That's my reflection from today's talk. Thank you.
Yeah, middle school is not the easiest to work. I've been in middle school. I've taught in two different situations in my life, and boy, I didn't last there. So my hat off to you. It's not easy at all. Middle school in Caliga. Woo! I remember when I was a middle school student myself, and the way I was like troublesome like anything. So, so but in a funny way, just not troublesome in terms of getting into all kinds of mischief. But again, it's just very frisky. That age, carefree, very immature.
Handling teenagers are not easy.
Yeah. Oh, in the teenage too, it gets worse. They start in middle school. They are
Yeah.
innocent in primary. They start in middle school. It gets bad, and then it gets worse. And that's
Yes.
when by high school is when the lust and everything becomes very high. Then,
Mm.
oh my goodness, what a life!
Um,
Yeah. So those.
I teach preschool, and I'm seeing anger issues even over there.
Oh my goodness.
We're really having to deal with anger and not knowing how to cope with it. And one of the
Mm.
things I feel is, education is important, but coping skills and life skills are even more important, because without them, you cannot get any academic knowledge in. My question, probably, you were talking about humility and
I can hear you.
anger. Yeah, your picture is gone. Um, when I've heard this, when you are in a leadership position,
Mm-hmm.
when you have two sides to manage, that's when it becomes difficult. And then, you're issuing consequences. And at that time, sometimes it feels like it is coming out of anger, it is coming with uh, less humility than there should be. Then when you are in that position, how do you handle what guardrails do you use? Where do you get guidance from? How do you, you know, of course, you're not going to have answers for everything. So how do you go about handling those situations?
Can you explain the situation again? I have to apologize. My computer almost ran out of battery. So when I got off, I was putting the power cord back on.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
and so
what
that
I mean
distracted me a little
is
bit. So we can just.
when you have a leadership position,
Mm-hmm.
you're still trying to be a devotee, you're still trying to be humble, you're
Yeah.
still trying to control your anger,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but you are in a position where you have to manage two sides.
Yeah.
You're responsible for two sides of the situation. What do you use to guide you, to help you through those situations? How do you Obviously, we don't always have all the answers, and just looking at how the Kumaras and the doorkeepers tried to handle it, what could
Mm-hmm.
each one of them have done to not I know I know why the pastime has happened. It had to
Yeah.
happen. There were
Yeah.
reasons for it. But we need to learn something from this. While we are studying this, we need to get something out of it. So
Yes.
so how do you go about it's easier when we are reading somebody else's experience, when we see, like they say, 2020 hindsight is
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
very
But
good.
when it comes to
When
ours,
you are in a situation,
mm-hmm.
at that moment, at that time, during that period, you don't know what is right. There are some options. You don't know which one is right, which one is best, which
Yeah.
one is good. What do you use for guidance then? How do you know or that you have done the best or the right or the best right thing?
Mm. It's not easy,
Mm,
but the thing is, we have to practice humility ourselves in order
mm,
to actually be able to deal with situations. I can We'll talk about a few things that
mm,
we do now, but actually are very, very important in dealing with situations like what you've described.
mm,
When the quality of our chanting improves,
mm,
our mindset also improves in terms of the way we deal with our own emotions. And of course, anger is all tied to emotions.
mm,
Mm? Therefore, if our emotions are under control, our anger is also going to be under control. And how does that happen? It happens not only by hearing, because hearing we get so much advice every day, literally. but also by the chanting where we chant in desperation with the prayer. Remember the Pokemons were also praying. We can literally pray for things that we want, especially if it improves our bhakti. It improves our own character. We can literally ask the Lord for that. The reason I'm not coming up with specifics is because our lives change. Our lives are different from one situation to another. We don't face the same situations. Therefore, there's not one quick fix. But there is, in fact, an overall way in which we can help. The overall things are improving our own lives as devotees, beginning with more desperate chanting. This is where the Lord begins to reveal himself, and he reveals himself by so many ways in which we are prompted to do the right things. And I know that practically in my own life. When I chant more seriously and when I chant with a little less attention, it does in fact show how my life is like. The other thing is we put the Lord first. If we put the Lord first at the beginning of our life, of our day, every day, then he also would help us. He says, the extent to which we surrender, that means the extent to which we prioritize Krishna consciousness in our day-to-day activities, then he will also reward accordingly. So yes, there are solutions, but they come in a custom-made way. That's why I'm not talking about any particular one, because our situations vary, from in our daily lives. They just vary. But when we are determined to speak, another point is this from Raghunath Das Goswami. Speak to the mind. Speak to the mind. This person that's in front of me has the super soul in his heart, just like in my heart. The super soul watches everything that we do. This is a way to speak to the mind, to caution the mind not to go astray into anger, especially. Therefore, I have to be careful with that person. We have to learn to use mild words. And Srila Prabhupada, even though sometimes he calls the Mayavadis rascals and so on, and for devotees, he used mild words many, many times. Rather than say the situation is bad, when he talks about the situation being bad, he talks about the whole material world. Everything here is bad. That was just a general comment. But when he's talking to a devotee, he doesn't use the word bad. He says this activity will not help you or will not help us. So will not help means that it's not the good thing to do. It means it is the bad thing to do. But he never uses the word like that. He just says will not help us. If you do such and such, then we get concerned. Not that blasting the person because he did do so and so and so, but using the word concern. It makes us concerned. Well, our adult children, we can even use the same words. It's respectful, but it still makes the point. So mild words are also very important. That way, we don't offend, even though we get our points across. We don't offend. And if there's something that's bad that has happened, and you could describe it, rather than do that, use the other side of it. Talk about the good thing that should have been done, rather than mention the bad thing that was done. Talk about the good thing that should have been done. In other words, it is better to do so and so and so. And I remember one devotee, Srila Prabhupada disciple called Mother Kalini. She left her body now. She was a Girinagri. I was new at that time, in the middle 90s. I'd come from Maryland, D.C. area to this Dham. And what do I know about village life and devotion? I'd just been initiated the year before. And so, yeah, there were things that I was trying to serve to the best of my ability, but I was making mistakes. So Mother Kalini sat me down one time and explained not the mistakes I'm making. I could tell that she was talking about the mistakes, but she was only talking about the right thing to do, the thing that I should have done. So she listed one thing, and this one is like this, and this one is like this, and this one is like you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. And at the end, she said, it will be helpful to keep all those in mind. There was no insult at any point. He listed what to do, and it says, keep that in mind. And then she left me. So I had been corrected, but I didn't feel hurt in any way. So she was good like that. She was very, very, very. Anyway, that was one example. And so to use the word concern rather than you're doing a bad thing, if you do such, we get concerned. Mm. And then rather than talk about the bad things that have been done, talk about the things that could be done to be the right things to do, the good things that should have been done. List those instead. So hopefully that would just help us. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Bhakta David had raised his hand.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Satpam Obeisance.
Hare Krishna. And also that's great advice. Thank you, Prabhu. The other thing I was thinking was to keep in mind, I know it's not always easy, and the material world constantly gives us opportunities to practice, but to keep in mind, how do we want to be treated for our offenses? That's helpful when dealing with people who've offended us in some way. Hare Krishna.
How to deal with their offense when they offend us?
No, I was saying it's helpful to keep in mind how we ourselves would want to be treated for our offenses when we're dealing with other people.
Yeah. Okay. So you were making a comment then. Okay.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So if we get treated badly, we get upset. So we shouldn't be upsetting other people by treating them badly. That's why mild words are so important to use. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Jai, Sama Mataji.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, glories to devotees everywhere.
Hare Krishna. And really nice to see you. I hope everything is working well with you. And
I'm getting better slowly and being taken very good care of. My family and nurses. I do have a nurse that comes in every week to see my condition.
Okay.
So, visits me at home.
Feel better soon.
I'm getting better.
Yeah, and very nice class. Thank you very much for your we missed your classes, and this class was really very, very useful. I was really feeling that my mind was filling with anarthas. Now, getting on track.
We all have anarthas.
And I really like the point that when we are not humble, that means we have pride. So whenever we have pride, we should think that we should be humble now. This time become humble. We are not humble. So this also.
Yeah. I went. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah, I'm gonna take since my spiritual family. I feel so close to you. I'll tell you a little bit about what happened. So I had an intestinal issue, blockage in my intestine. This is what started it. Had surgery, wound up in the hospital, staying there for 3 weeks, and then to a place where there was rehabilitation for 2 weeks. And the realizations come, Krishna is so merciful. Krishna is incredible how things happen. Yeah, I was in a lot of pain. I've been through more pain than I remember experiencing in previous times. But and of course in the hospital you don't get to sleep much because they're taking all kinds of data from you, blood glucose, every hour and a half they're there taking blood pressure, and they're monitoring, and so many instruments monitoring me. So so then I obviously couldn't sleep. My sleep pattern was thrown way off. So what did I do? I had my cell phone on the side, and I was on my side, and made sure that it was plugged in, so it was always charged. And I played Shiva Prabhupada, the Hare Krishna mantra throughout the whole night. A few nurses asked me, "What's that?" So I explained to them. The mantra was, that's all I could do. There's one on YouTube.
They started chanting too?
Yeah, 10.5 hours. Oh, I was chanting when I had the chance to. Usually I would start chanting around 3 o'clock.
No, they started chanting, nurses.
No, they were curious. So chanting.
At least they are hearing. That was good.
Yes, they were hearing. You were here, and I was the only, I'm sure, the whole patient in the whole ward that had Hare Krishna Mantra code on the cell phone. So they're taking blood pressure, everything, what help you need, and some fluids, they run out, and the machines beep, because I had all of these eight
Yeah.
eight channels of IV going into me.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Wow.
4 of them, each one had two ports, and they were
Mm.
all filled. And then one of
Oh.
my, so this is going on. I mean, you can stop the recording now if you don't mind, because this is,
No, no, it's okay.
yeah.